Look, I ain't one for sugarcoating the war. Name's Sergeant Charles Sparky Harlan, flight engineer on a beat-up B-17 out of Thorpe Abbotts, England, back in 1943. 38 years old, with grease under my nails from dawn till dusk and scars from more flak bursts than I care to count. I'd flown 20 missions by then, seen good men turn to smoke over the Ruhr, and every time we limped back, I patched her up like a farmer mending a fence after a storm. My crew: Tex the navigator, Doc the bombardier, Brooklyn the ball turret gunner. They were solid, like family you curse but wouldn't trade. We called our bird Lucky Lady, though luck had damn little to do with it. Then they shipped in this kid. Lieutenant John Johnny Whitaker, fresh out of flight school, all of 21, with a face like he'd just stepped off the farm in Iowa or some such wholesome hellhole. Clean uniform, no creases from sitting in a cockpit, and eyes wide enough to swallow the whole damn airfield. The brass said he was our new pilot, our skipper, after the last one bought it over Bremen. I took one look and knew. This boy was a liability. A greenhorn at the stick of a fortress? In this meat grinder? We'd all paid for rookies before. He showed up on a drizzly morning in October, right before the Munster run. The ground crew was swarming Lucky Lady like ants on a picnic, topping off the 50s, checking the Norden sight. I was up on the wing, torque testing the props, when the CO marched him over. Sergeant Harlan, meet your new lead. Whitaker here's got the hours, but you'll show him the ropes. The kid saluted crisp, like in the posters, and stuck out a hand. I wiped mine on my coveralls, black with oil, and shook it, limp as a wet noodle. First thing, during the briefing, he pipes up with questions that made my teeth grind. Sir, what's the wind shear like over the target? And how do we adjust for the bomb load if we feather an engine early? Christ, kid, we ain't in a classroom. Tex shot me a look, rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd stick. Brooklyn muttered under his breath, farm boy thinks it's a science fair. I leaned in after, while we suited up in the ready room, the air thick with cigarette smoke and stale coffee. Listen, Lieutenant, I said, low so the others wouldn't hear. This ain't Kansas. You fly tight. You follow the formation, or you get us all ventilated by 109s. Got it. He nodded too quick, that scared rabbit twitch in his jaw. I could smell the fear on him, sharp as cordite. We took off that afternoon for a shakedown. Nothing hot, just formation flying over the Washington simple stuff. Stay in the box, practice evasive turns. But Johnny, he wobbles the yoke like he's wrestling a steer. Lucky Lady drifts left, bumps the wing of the ship beside us. Old man's lead squadron bird. Alarms whoop in the cockpit, and I'm scrambling back from my engineer station, yelling into the interphone. Skipper, trim her out, damn it. You're shearing. He freezes for a beat, long enough that I see the altimeter dip, then yanks back too hard. We porpoise like a drunk porpoise, and Doc hollers from the nose. Jesus, we're gonna kiss the drink. I muscle into the cockpit, slap his hands off the controls, and level us out myself. What the hell was that? I growl. His face is white as the props, sweat beading under his goggles. I thought I had it, Sarge. Thought. Yeah, that's the problem with kids. They think. Back on the tarmac, the crew circles him like wolves. Tex jabs. Nice dance moves, farm boy. Next time, leave the flying to the bird. Brooklyn laughs, but it's mean, the kind that cuts. I pull him aside later, in the hangar shadows, while I bleed the hydraulics. You're gonna get us killed, Whitaker. I seen your type, book smart, gut empty. Stay out of my way till you grow a spine. He mumbles something about proving himself, eyes on the concrete. Pathetic. That night, in the Neeson hut, I lay on my bunk listening to the rain drum the tin roof, thinking of the boys we'd lost last week. Good men, steady. This kid? He'd fold like a cheap tent the first time flak cracked close. And tomorrow? Munster. Ball-bearing plants, heavy defenses. No room for burdens. I lit a lucky strike, watched the cherry glow, and wondered if I'd have to drag his ass out of the channel myself. The next dawn, we strap in for the real thing. Johnny climbs the ladder last, helmet under his arm, looking like he's marching to his own funeral. I cinch my harness tight, check the gauges, 4 right cyclones purring sweet, and key the mic. Crew sound off. Voices crackle back. Tex, Doc, Brooklyn, the waist gunners, the radio man. Johnny's last, voice thin, pilot here. Green board. Green my ass. As we rumbled down the runway, props chewing the mist. I feel it in my bones. This run's gonna test him. And us. God help us if he breaks. Munster loomed like a bad dream that morning. October 10th, 1943, the kind of gray English sky that sticks to your soul. We'd been briefed at 0400, deep penetration, 8th Air Force big push on the Reich's ball-bearing heart. 200 forts and libs, P-47s for cover, but we all knew the math. Fighters would swarm like hornets once we crossed the coast. My job as engineer? Keep Lucky Lady aloft, no matter what. Monitor engines, fuel, hydraulics. Be the glue when flak tried to tear us apart. But with Johnny at the controls, I felt like I was flying with a prayer and a curse. The CO had us slotted low in the formation, tail end Charlie, the slot where stragglers draw the bees. I argued in the ops tent, voice low over the map lights. Major, this kid's first combat hop. Put us high, let him learn. But the old man just grunted, pencil tapping the flak lanes. Needs seasoning, Sparky. Sink or swim? Swim? In the North Sea? I bit my tongue, but inside I was boiling. Fine. If Brass wanted to roll the dice, I'd rig the game. Takeoff was textbook. Johnny nailed the run. Engines thundering as we clawed into the overcast. Formation assembled over the buncher. Ships slotting in like rusty gears. I roamed the catwalk, eyes on the dials. Temps steady, mixture rich. Over the interphone, techs called azimuths. Docs sink the bomb site. The kid flew straight, at least, wings level, no drifting. But I caught his breathing, ragged through the headset, like a colt spooked by thunder. Easy, skipper, I murmured. Breathe with the bird. He didn't answer, just gripped the yoke white-knuckled. As we droned east, crossing the Dutch coast, the real talk started. Brooklyn from the turret, flax lighting up the leads. Like fireworks for Krauts. Then the fighters hit, silhouettes spearing from clouds. 109s and 190s, tracers stitching the sky. Our waist guns barked. 50s chattering, but we were low boys, easy pickings. A burst rocked us. Shrapnel pinged the skin like hail on tin. I smelled hydraulic fluid, acrid. Engine 3's trailing smoke. I yelled, diving for the panel. Feathered it quick, props windmilling dead. Johnny jinked. Too sharp, and we dropped 50 feet, bumping the ship below. Watch it. Tech snapped. The kid recovered, but his voice cracked. Sorry, got it. Got it. We were bleeding altitude, formation pulling ahead. That's when I saw my out. Over the Dutch polders, flak thinning, I keyed private to him. Lieutenant, listen close. We're lagging, 3's gone, and you're burning fuel fighting her. Break off, scout that ridgeline low for flak traps. Give us eyes ahead. I'll nurse her back to the box. It was a lie, half-baked, scouting an Olympic fortress? Suicide with those fighters prowling. But I sold it cold. Orders from the CO in my ear. Prove your mettle, kid. Radio went clear. The crew went quiet on the line. They knew. Brooklyn whispered, Sparky, that's. I cut him off. Johnny hesitated, sweat slicking his neck. But Sarge, the target. Target waits for no cripples. Go. He banked left, dipping into stratus, vanishing like a ghost. I exhaled slow. One less worry. All right, boys, I said to the crew, now we fly smart. Close up that slot. We rejoined the tail, engines straining on 3. Techs plotted deviations, Doc nursed the sight. But my gut twisted. Not guilt, exactly, but the war's old ache. I'd sent boys on worse, seen him splash. This one, too green, too eager. War ain't for dreamers. It chews and spits bone. As we pushed into Germany, contrails feathering the blue, I scanned the gauges, boosters hot, but holding. Flax started popping distant, black puffs like bruises on the sky. Brooklyn nailed a 190, silver shards tumbling. Good man. But in the back of my skull, that ridgeline haunted. Kids probably ditched by now, shoot blooming over some farmer's kraut patch. Better him than us. The IP, initial point, flashed under us, roar haze lifting. Fighters thickened, a 109 raked our echelon, cannon shells whining past. I pumped rounds from the chin turret, lead chewing his wing. He smoked off. Got one. Doc hooped. But Johnny's silence on the radio gnawed. No mayday, no nothing. Dead or captured. Either way, clean. We tightened for the run, bomb bay doors creaking open, the fort groaning like an old man in the wind. Target ahead. Munster's factories, smokestacks belching defiance. Flak now, close, vicious, walking up our box. Bursts rocked us, oxygen masks fogging with sweat. I braced, thinking of the hut, the letters from home I'd never write. This was it, the gamble. And I'd stack the deck. You ever feel the sky turn against you? Like the whole damn vault of heaven's rigged to drop you? That's Munster, boys. That run on October 10th, 1943, when the Luftwaffe decided we'd overstay our welcome. We'd muscled past the coast on 3 engines. Lucky lady wallowing like a drunk in a bathtub, but holding the slot. Flak was the opener, lazy at first, then vicious, shells bursting in our face like God's own wrath. Black blossoms everywhere, shrapnel rattling the fuselage like dice in a cup. I was wedged between panels, eyes on the needles. Oil pressure dipping on 2. Superchargers whining protest. Hold her steady. I barked into the mic. The crew was poetry. Waist gunners stitching the air, Brooklyn swiveling his turret like a demon. Then the trap sprung. IP behind us, target 12 minutes out, and the sky erupts. Not flak, fighters. Dozens, peeling from the sun, 190s in pairs, 109s diving like falcons. Our P-47s were thin up high, chasing shadows, leaving us low boys to the wolves. Lead ships ahead shredded. One fortress spins out, wings folding like paper, plummeting silent. Tracers lace our echelon, a 190 bores in on our 6, cannons flashing. Brooklyn opens up, gotcha. But too late. Shells chew our right aileron, aluminum screaming. We lurch right, formation scattering like startled pigeons. Johnny was gone by then, my little gambit, and good riddance, I thought in the chaos. No dead weight dragging us down. But without him, we were flying blind in the storm. Tex yelled courses, but the interphone fritzed. Shrapnel nicked a wire. Sparky. Engine 1's overheating. Doc's voice, frantic from the nose. I scrambled forward, oxygen starving my brain, and glimpsed it. Coolant line ruptured, glycol steaming. Feathered it on instinct, but we were down to 2 props now, torque twisting us like a corkscrew. The bird fought the yoke. I could hear it in the struts groaning. Flak walked closer, a burst shearing our tail plane clean off. No, wait, that was later. This was the build-up. Tail gun silent suddenly. Brooklyn's voice cut mid-burst. Turret jammed. Kraut's got the hydraulics. Panic rippled the line. Waist gunner, young Pete from Ohio, screams as rounds punch his window, blood misting the glass. Man down. Radio man patches him, but we're leaking air, altitude bleeding. Fighters press. A 109 rips past the cockpit, canopy starred. Tex dives for the Norden backup, but Doc's hit, shrapnel in the leg, bellowing. Can't see the damn sight. I grab the bomb run controls, hands slick, heart pounding like a trip hammer. The formation's fracturing, ships ahead jinking wild, bombers trading blows with escorts. One explodes midair, debris pelting us like gravel. Lucky lady shudders, a direct flak hit bucking us up 50 feet, gauges wild. Fuel low, oxygen flickering, masks hissing desperate. I keyed what was left of the mic. Crew brace. We're straggling, evasive starboard. But with half a tail and 2 engines, evasion's a joke. We wallow out of the box, alone now, the big formation a distant V of silver specks. Fighters smell blood. 3 190s circle, patient as vultures. Tracers probe, one nicking the wing root, fire licking the nacelle. I hit the extinguisher, CO2 blasts white, and pray. The target swells below, Munster sprawl, factories belching smoke, flak batteries winking hello. But we're offline, drifting south on the crosswinds, bombs still racked. Doc's fading, morphine dulling his curses. Pete's slumped, bandage soaking red. Tex plots a ghost course. We ditch the run, Sarge. Head for the deck. No, not on my watch. I'd patched this bird from worse. Regensburg scars still puckering her skin. But reality bit hard. We were trapped, a wounded beast in the jaws. Fighters closed, a 109 lining up dead astern. Brooklyn's turret spun free now, manual crank squealing, but ammo's low, belts fraying. The interphone died full, gestures and shouts our only tongue. I waved text to the yoke, him navigating, me on guns. Flak crumped close, wave rocking us, instruments tumbling. 8 minutes till IP, felt like eternity. I thought of the hunt, the rain, the letters. Of Johnny, probably fish food by now. We'd gambled, and the house won. Sky darkened, fighters diving, and I braced for the end. Smoke and silence over enemy soil. They say in the thick of it, time stretches like taffy, minutes to hours, seconds to knives in the gut. That's how it was over Munster that day, October 10th, 1943, with Lucky Lady gutshot and bleeding skyward. We'd peeled from the formation, a lone duck in a wolf pack, two engines coughing fury, tail stubbed like a kicked stump from Flak's kiss. Fighters owned us, three 190s, green-nosed butchers from JG2, circling tight, picking shots. Tracers zipped past, close enough to singe your soul. I was on the waist gun. 50s hot in my gloves, lead arcing futile into the blue. Brooklyn cranked his turret blind, Doc slumped in the nose, leg tourniquet, but face gray. Tex wrestled the yoke solo, sweat carving rivers down his flight suit. We were done. 8 minutes from the IP, altitude crumbling, fuel gauges weeping. Then the phantom stirred. First, a glitch in the Kraut symphony. 190, lining our 6 for the kill, jerks sudden, like a puppet yanked. A puff of smoke blooms from his cowling, and he peels off, trailing glycol. No burst from us. Our guns silent that tick. What the? Tex mouths over his shoulder. I scan rearward, nothing but clouds and contrails. But the other two hesitate, banking wary, radios crackling frantic German I can't parse. Another glitch. The lead 190 dives in bold, cannons winking, should have stitched us stem to stern. But mid-strafe, his wingtip sparks, engine coughing black. He limps away, streaming oil, belly exposed. Brooklyn whoops weak. Ghost got him. From nowhere, a single. 50 cal burp, precise, methodic, like a surgeon's scalpel. Chaos ripples their formation. The third 190 orbits hesitant, pilots gesturing wild. Then it hits. A low rumble from the deck, flak batteries below stuttering confused, shells bursting short on their own boys. Lucky Lady drifts south, crosswinds shoving us off the bomb run. But that buys breath, precious seconds. I use it, scramble to the bomb bay, doors jammed half open from shrapnel, and wrestle the rack's manual. Bombs tumble loose, duds, thank Christ, lightening us a hair. Back to the gun. I spot it. Flashes in the haze below, not flak, muzzle pops, deliberate, picking Kraut ground crews like ticks. A ammo truck erupts, orange bloom swallowing shadows, secondary blasts popping like firecrackers. The 190s scatter, diving for the deck to chase the Spectre, leaving our tail clear. Hope flickered, faint as a match in wind. Boys, I keyed the scratchy interphone. We got a guardian angel down there. Tex, nurse her left, catch the jet stream. He nodded grim, feathering what scraps we had, altitude stabilizing at Angels 12. The crew stirred. Pete groaned awake, clutching his side. Doc stirred, mumbling targets. Fighters gone, for now, their growl fading east. Flak still walked the formation ahead, distant thunder, but us? A reprieve, unearned. I wiped blood, minor Pete's. From my eye, scanning gauges, hydraulics gone, but flaps held. That phantom, who'd paint a target on his own back for us? Partisan, lone wolf. My mind flashed to Johnny. Nah, kids shoot be wet by now. But doubt wormed. His radio silent. Yeah, but maybe. We clawed back azimuth. Tex plodding desperate on his knee board, pencil shaking. The IP slipped under, Munster spires mocking. Factories intact, our bombs undropped. Fighters wheeled distant, regrouping, but the Krauts below were spooked. A guns swiveling wild, trucks scattering like roaches. Another pop, smoke trails from a battery, silence neat. Our doors creaked full now, wind howling the bay. I braced Doc, morphine haze glazing his eyes. Hang on, old-timer, we're dropping hot. But how? Offline, drifting, a cripple in the gale. The Phantom's work-bought window, but closing fast, 190s reforming, sun glinting their wings. I gripped the mount. 50 barking warning shots. First hope in hours, fragile as eggshell. Whoever you are, I thought, buy us one more minute. The sky held breath, and Lucky Lady hung by threads, waiting for the break or the bust. Ends come sudden in this game. One breath you're clawing sky, next you're ash on the wind. Over Munster, October 10th, 1943, We teetered on that edge, lucky lady a sieve of holes, two props screaming protest, crew battered like driftwood. The Phantom's tricks had scattered the wolves, bought us a heartbeat, but payback loomed. For 190s reforming high, diving eager, and flak marching up our drift like a tide. We'd slipped the IP offline, bombs heavy in the bay, target a smeared smudge below. Tex hauled the yoke, veins bulging, but we wallowed south, crosswinds shoving us toward the Ruhr's maw. Doc's leg wept red, Pete mumbled fever dreams, Brooklyn's ammo down to prayers. Me? I manned the waist, barrel hot, willing lead to bend physics. The lead 190 bored in, a streak of menace, cannons flashing promise. Tracers whip past, close, stitching the cockpit glass. Tex jinks wild, bird groaning, and I hose the air, rounds pinging his canopy. He overshoots, but his wingman tags us. Shells rake the nacelle, fire blooming fresh on the dying engine. Alarms wail, fire bell shrieking. I dive for the extinguisher, CO2 blasting white hell, but it's losing ground, flames licking struts. We're cooking, Brooklyn yells. Below, the Phantom stirs again. A pop, smoke puffing a flak pit, but it's distant, fading as we drift. The 190 circles for the coup, nose glinting death. Then, nothing. His engine stutters, mid-turn, like a cough in the throat. Black smoke jets, props feathering wild, and he spirals lazy toward the deck. The wingman breaks, confused, and that's when the bay doors shutter full. From the catwalk shadows, a figure hauls, grease-black hands on the racks, jamming releases manual. Bombs tumble, whistling down true, smoke trails straight on the factories, blooms erupting precise amid the stacks. The Norden lied, but instinct hit. Dead on, clusters shattering ball-bearing sheds, secondary fires leaping orange. Doc stirs, weak cheer. On target, by God. The figure ducks into the cockpit. Johnny Whitaker, alive, filthy, flight suit torn and bloodied at the cuffs. His eyes met mine through the bulkhead. No fear now, just steel. He'd nursed her low over the ridge, as ordered, but spotted the trap. Kraut spotters massing, fighters vectored. Instead of scouting passive, he played mechanic, his old Detroit trade, wrenching a jury rig from the toolbox. Patched a fuel line on the fly, scavenged wire for the interphone, even feathered the bad prop solo while hugging treetops to dodge radar. Then the ghost act, belly crawled to a clear patch, sniped with his sidearm, and scavenged Kraut rifle, methodic pops from cover, sowing panic in their batteries. No heroics, just smarts. Used the terrain, wind shadows, waited patient like he was fixing a Chevy back home. That bought our window, and now? Back at the stick, he trimmed her sweet, banking shallow to shake the tails. Fighters scattered, flak wild from their own chaos. Our P-47s swooping opportunistic. Johnny's voice crackled the revived interphone, steady as granite. Crew, that's our run. RTB, Angels 10. RTB, return to base. Simple words, heavy as lead. We limped west, formation a memory, North Sea churning below. Fire out, but smoke trailed, altitude of fight. I patched Pete midair, Doc's legs stanched, Brooklyn reloading from scraps. Johnny flew conservative, throttle gentle, props synced by ear, his mechanic's touch keeping the birds alive. Fighters probed once more, a 109 nipping close, but Johnny rolled shallow, exposing Brooklyn's guns. Burst, smoke, and gone. No flare, just calculation. We ditched gear over the channel, flaps, excess weight, splashing down soft at Thorpe Abbott's, wheels kissing turf like a sigh. Ground crew swarmed, foam trucks wailing, medics hauling Doc and Pete. Johnny taxied her to dispersal, cut the mags clean. I climbed out last, legs jelly, and there he stood by the hatch. Helmet off, hair matted, but standing tall. Gave his report crisp. Mission complete, Sarge. Targets hit. Minor issues en route. Minor. I looked him over, scratches from thorns on that ridge, hands raw from tools, eyes holding the 1,000-yard stare already. Not the kid anymore. The farm boy who'd wobbled wings. Forged in fire. I didn't speechify, ain't my style. Just nodded once, sharp, like sealing a pact. Later, in the debrief hut, over lukewarm Joe and bandages, the crew thawed. Tex clapped his shoulder. Hell of a fix, Lieutenant. Brooklyn grinned. Ghost in the machine. I hung back, lit a smoke, Watched him laugh. Real, not forced. That night, in the hut's dim, rain pattering, I passed him my flask under the bunks. Whiskey burned smooth. Welcome aboard, skipper. He took it, sipped slow. No words needed. War's funny. Breaks you, then mends crooked. But that day over Munster, it mended us all.